So I'm gonna do a review on the DJI Action 4. I really love using this camera. It's very easy. The coloring's good, all sorts of things. The whole video is filmed on the Action 4 except one part, which I do clarify in. But let's jump into it and see if this is a camera that you'd be interested in. Audio test quick, right? I've got the DJI mics hooked up to the Action 4, and this is what you're hearing from me using the mics. And as you can tell, it sounds good, right? There's a little noise around me. The dog's walking around. There's some birds flying. You can hear the HVAC a little bit in the background, but as you can tell, it still does a very good job with the mic. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unplug the receiver, which is a USB-C. So if you're planning to buy this camera, just make sure if you already have a mic and it's not a USB-C, get a 3.5 to USB-C dongle. That way you're good to go and you don't have to worry about it. Here's the receiver. And as you can tell, I've been talking without the mic. So this is the internal mic for the Action 4. And I think it does a decent job. I mean, it's not gonna be the greatest thing in the world. It's not gonna blow you away as much as, you know, using an external mic, but it does a decent job. So if you're worried about it, I wouldn't. You know, if you're just going out somewhere, you know, doing hiking and it's gonna be a little quieter, whatever it's gonna be. Now, if you're in the city and you're trying to vlog or something like that, you might wanna have a mic that's right up against you to talk to. But if you're just doing something like that and you have it hooked onto you and you're just gonna be talking and you're not gonna be too worried about the audio because you're gonna throw some music over it, whatever it might be, go ahead and use these mics. I mean, I think where I'm at's a little busy, right? There's a lot of cars coming by. I'm downtown Inman, South Carolina, doing some photos, and I figured we'd see how good the DJI Action 4 is in low light. So I'm gonna throw y'all on a lanyard around my neck. We're gonna walk around, take some photos, and then I'm gonna switch to internal audio so y'all can hear what that's gonna sound like. So for the rest of this night portion that we're doing, there's gonna be no mics other than what you're hearing now. So just straight internal audio, and y'all can determine the difference of what y'all think sounds better. There's a spot in downtown Inman that I like taking photos of. It's just a little salon. They still have some Christmas stuff up, but it still looks nice. And I'm not shooting vertical to throw on Instagram. I think that's the problem nowadays. Is every time you do vertical, everybody's like, oh, he's gonna post it on Instagram, and that's not always the case. Sometimes things look better in vertical than they do horizontal. So it is what it is. So tell me what y'all think. You know, this is what it looks like, variable ISO from 100 to 12,800. Just, you know, changing some things up. You're seeing my A7 IV in front of you, right? But you can see how grainy it looks, right? It's a little brighter, so obviously that ISO is gonna change. Like here's a street light from my neighbor's house, right? They have one out there. And now you can kind of see what it looks like, right? Now y'all see, but I walk away from that and you can see it in the background, right? But as I keep going, you're gonna see where I was at just a minute ago and how just dark and grainy it's gonna get. But look, that light's back there. So you can still see, I mean, it'll still capture stuff, but you know, if you're looking for like the ultimate low light performance, obviously the sensor size on this is not gonna do that for you. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at this. Like where we were at earlier, you know, it had some lights and was a little brighter. So we got good footage, right? And as I get closer to the house, right, it's gonna crank back and be a little better. But like, look at that, you know, like now we're okay, you know. But as from before, a minute ago, yeah, I would not, like super dark might not be the best. You'll still get footage. It just isn't gonna look as good. But, you know, sometimes having some footage is better than having no footage. So now this is a test during the day, right? So what we're looking at is, you can see behind me, right? It's a overcast day, it's really foggy. But just look how clean that looks, how clear that is, right? We're gonna turn around and you're just gonna see me taking the dog for a walk, right? But just look how clear that is, right? So why would you not wanna get something like this, you know? If you're a photographer and you want to do BTS, if you're, you know, a scuba diver, anything, right? Or you just want something to play with while you're, whatever you're doing, right? You want to take this on your motorcycle, this is the way to go. I mean, I'm not even using a mic right now, right? I've showed y'all what it sounds like with the mic, and I'm just using this without hooking the mic up just to do a video without a mic. And as you can tell, it sounds pretty decent, you know? I'm hand holding this, I don't have this on anything, and it's not terrible. You know, obviously there's gonna be some shake. It's not like I have it on a gimbal or anything, but it's good, right? And this is, the ISO's at 100. and we're still doing 24 frames a second, and it's looking good.
This is the time-lapse setting that's built into the Action 4, so all you have to do is go under your settings panel and scroll over to time-lapse, and you can decide which one you want to do. You can see the dog walking past, you'll see some birds coming around, all those clouds moving. I just had this sitting on a tripod, so if you just want to get a nice time-lapse while you're doing a video or something like that, you can just sit it and it'll all be done in camera. The next portion of the video, you will see the settings and how to get to this tab and all the customizability that it does have. So if you want a longer time lapse, you want a shorter time lapse, things like that, it is a great thing to have.
This is going to be one of the few parts of the video that's not filmed on the Action 4, only because I want to show you all the different areas of this, right? So you can pull it down, right? You're going to have all your different tabs. So you're going to have your settings, your brightness, your profiles, and all those different things, right? You can turn your front screen off, you can have it on. So maybe you don't want to see yourself recording, or you need it to be darker, things like that. You just hit here. You can voice control, lock, right? Screen lock. So the part on the right, this is going to be your settings, right? Here's your pro settings. You can have it automatic. You know, there's nothing wrong with that when you're starting out. If you're not familiar with what you need for all this, right? Here's your white balance. You can have it auto white balance, your exposure, right? So I was doing 24 frames a second earlier, so we're at 1/50 to match that. Here's your ISO level. You can change that, right? As you can see how dark it is in this room, right? We'd have to go a little higher, but you can have that, which the cool thing is, right? You can have that to 100 to 12,800, 100 to 64, things like that, right? Or you can just have an auto, right? Confirm, and that's it, right? You don't D-log, right? And that's gonna allow you to edit a little better, but then you can also just have it manual. You can see it right here on the left side, right? You can just see the color difference right there, right? And here's your point of view. You have it to warped. You can change that if you need to, and I'll tell you that its focal length is equivalent to 70 if you want to do wide, ultra wide, things like that. I usually do standard just to keep it nice. And then, like I said, white balance. You can do manual and change it if you want to, or you can have it auto. And then what we're gonna do, right, is here's your mic channels, right? Cool. We're good to go. Pro, or just like I said, manual, and just let it do its thing if you're not familiar with it. And then, you know, here's your other areas, right? 24 frames a second, frame rate 25, all the way up to 100, 120. And then here's your resolutions, 4K, 16 by 19, 4K, 4 by 3. And obviously, right, it's gonna be recommended down here, but then like if you're doing, some of these can only do certain frame rates. So 2.7K, you can do up to 120. Here's 1080p. So you have all that different, there's just certain things I'm not gonna be able to get. And then here's your different parts of it, right? Here's your rock steady to keep it still. Here's it just rock steady without the plus, and then here's it being off. And you see how different it is, right? How different, like it zooms in a little bit, because that rock steady is just zoomed in a little bit, so you don't get as much of that camera shake. Like I'm moving my left hand right now, and you can kind of see that it's not really shaking that much. That's what that does. If we go all the way off, you can see it a lot more, right? So I personally don't mind it being zoomed in to do that, because this camera is so far out that it doesn't really matter, in my opinion. Obviously you make your own choices with that, but there's different things there, right? You can click on this little icon. This is gonna be, you know, videos you've done. And then we're gonna go back, right? And you hit the little camera button, right? Here's your photos. Here is your video, your slow-mo, and your time lapse. And time lapses are awesome to be able to do on here, right? You can pick it out, you can do custom, you can do a sunset, and it'll kind of give you an idea of 1 hour. Take a photo every 3 seconds, clouds moving, 10 minutes every 2 seconds, crowds, 10 minutes every 5 seconds. And then you have you can do hyperlapses on here too, which is really neat. So, and then you have your custom. So depending on what you want to do, you can change it, and then there's your resolution. Obviously 1080p to 4K, and the higher you go, you're gonna have, you know, you're gonna need a higher SD card for all that. You can see, like you can see my floor and all that. That's how wide this camera is. You know, we'll even turn it around now, right? So y'all can see the setup and where I'm at, right? So there's everything. There's the A7 IV, and you know, now you're gonna see it. And this is all that comes with it when you buy it, right? You have this little thing right here that's magnetic that attaches to the bottom right here of your camera, right? Just magnetized right on there. Cool, good to go. And this is nice and flat for the most part. It's got a curve to it, right? But if you want to sit it down, it works perfect. We can just take that off. And then as you can see, we still have this little plastic cage that came with it. I'm not a huge fan of it. You know, you can attach it to the side too. So if you want to do horizontal content, right? We just throw this back on there. And now we're doing horizontal content. You know, no big deal, right? Cool, we're good to go. But you have to have the cage on in order to be able to do that, right? And one of the things I don't like about this, and one of the reasons I bought the PGYtech one, is because yes, it's nice that it has that and you can do that, but on that side is where the battery pack is. So you can't even get to the battery pack, right? So you take it off you take the top off, right? You kind of have to slide it out kind of awkwardly, in my opinion, right? This is what it looks like without the camera in there, right? It's just a piece of plastic with some stuff around it. It's not bad. It'll protect it, but not like, you know, what you want it to do. And then this is what it actually looks like without all that, right? So here we go. You know, a little smaller, but here you go. This is your USB-C port, which is very nice for if you use like the DJI mics, because they can plug right into that, and you can just pop this off, right? And you put your mic in here, and you can have the receiver point towards the back, so that way it doesn't interrupt this part of the camera right here in the lens, because I've done that, and you'll just get this black bar on the side, which is kind of odd. Here's your power button, and then here's, you know, here's the actual front of the camera, right? And I'm just have it at an angle so you can see it better, but we can just grab this and twist this off, which is nice because if, you know, it's like a UV filter, right? If it breaks, you know, your glass right here is still gonna be okay. And the nice thing is you can get some filters for it. So if you're shooting on like a bright day and things like that, you can definitely get your variable NDs to throw on here. And all you gotta do is unscrew that. So it's very nice. Then here's your front screen, right? Which is very nice and handy. And it's also touchscreen. But you saw me earlier using it, and for the most part walking around, you can see yourself and there's no issues, right? It's very nice to have that on the front. That was one of the big perks to me about getting it, was I was gonna start doing videos, and I was like, if I'm gonna do videos and ever have myself in it, you know, I wanna be able to see myself, so that was nice. And then this is where the battery goes, right? So we just slide this, and there you go. There's your battery, and there's your SD card. And that's why I said I don't like the cage that they give you, because it blocks that off. So like, what if you know, if you need to change your battery, yeah, it's cool that that's there and you can, you know, hold it vertically, but it blocks the whole thing off. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's just a pain. And then, like I said, we go back to the screen. Here's the bottom of it. You know, you can obviously just throw it right in there without needing the cage on there for the adapter that holds onto it, right? We'll just make sure it gets on there correctly. And bam, look, no cage needed. So that's nice, right? No problem there. And then we'll go to the top. That's your record button, and you know, stop it from there. Like, watch, we'll record from here, and you'll have that. And if you have a mic in there, your level is going to be right up here at the top. You're going to see this little green line or whatever. But yeah, that's how you record with that. So it's very nice, and I would recommend. I actually just bought it. Is this, and this is the PGYtech cage that I was talking about. This is very nice, right? You have everything you need. It's a very similar setup, but the reason I got it was because if you need to use a mic, here's your hot shoe mount if you need to, and you can literally just connect right here where your mic would go and just have your mic set up top here, right? Especially if you're not using like the DJI mics, or even if you are, you could run the cable up to here and just have it sit here and make it easier. You know, so that's up to you, right? It opens here, so this whole sidebar opens, which is nice. It's easier to slide in. And then this part here, yes, it is covered up for the battery, but you have this hole right here for tripods or whatever you might need it for, but there's this button right right here, and you literally push that in, and it pops right open. So you can easily get to your battery without having to take the camera out. And the camera can slide out this way. So all in all, I think this is a good pickup if you're going to get the DJI Action 4 and you're not a big fan of the cage that came with it. So go check it out. But to get back to the DJI 4, we're gonna switch now and finish this video up talking about it. Quick disclaimer. So I was talking about how great the PGYtech cage is, right? Because it's metal, it's gonna protect it better, all that. And it is very nice, but there is one point I don't like about it. And that's gonna be this side where your USB-C cover is. So there's this metal piece right here that's the exact same size on this side. So if you're like me and you use the DJI Action mics and you want to just hook the receiver right in, you're not going to be able to do that, right? So Small Rig does make one that cuts this off a little bit. So it's still rounded off. It's just not as thick. So maybe check that out before you check this out. This is one of those things PGYtech should have done better. So you don't have to get a dongle. Otherwise, you're gonna have to get like a USB-C to 3.5 dongle or get a USB-C cable that can plug into your receiver. So just be aware of that.